Close your eyes and think about your home. It's the one place where you feel completely safe. You lock your front door, you shut your windows, and you turn out the lights, believing that the four walls around you are a fortress. But what if those walls weren't empty? What if the scratching you hear at night isn't a rodent? What if the cold draft in your hallway isn't just bad insulation? Tonight, we dive into the terrifying reality of people who realized, far too late, that they weren't alone. From hollow crawl spaces to hidden rooms behind mirrors, these are 4 true stories of squatters hidden in the walls. Story 1. Mark was a 26-year-old graphic designer who had just moved into a renovated studio in South Carolina. For the first few weeks, life was quiet. But then small, inexplicable things began to happen. Mark would wake up to find his front door unlocked, even though he was certain he'd bolted it. Even stranger, his grocery supplies seemed to be depleting faster than he was eating them. One Tuesday night, while Mark was washing dishes, he heard a heavy thud coming from the small utility hatch located directly above his refrigerator. He climbed a step stool and pushed the wooden panel shut, assuming the building's old vibrations had loosened it. But the next morning the hatch was wide open again. Deciding to get to the bottom of it, Mark hid a small motion-activated camera on top of his bookshelf. When he checked the footage the following day, his stomach dropped. At 2:30 a.m., the camera captured the hatch sliding open. A woman with hollow eyes and matted hair lowered herself down like a spider. She spent an hour in Mark's apartment, eating his food, sniffing his clothes, and eventually standing at his bedroom door, watching him sleep for 20 minutes in total silence. When the police arrived, they found a small nest in the crawl space filled with Mark's discarded mail and a serrated kitchen knife. She had been living inches above his head for 3 months. Story 2. 2 university students, Tyler and Leo, rented a cheap, sprawling Victorian house near their campus. The landlord gave them one strict rule. The attic was off limits because the floorboards were rotting. They agreed, but within a month, Leo started hearing a rhythmic, dragging sound above his ceiling every night at 3 a.m. Tyler laughed it off as squirrels, until one evening when he was pulling into the driveway. He looked up and saw a faint flickering candlelight in the attic window, a room that had no electricity. Terrified but curious, the 2 boys grabbed a baseball bat and pulled down the attic stairs. The air was thick with the smell of old grease. As they panned their flashlights around, they didn't find rotting floorboards. Instead, they found a fully furnished corner with a sleeping bag and stacks of their own missing mail. Suddenly, a floorboard creaked behind them. A man stepped out from behind a brick chimney, wearing a hoodie Tyler thought he had lost in the laundry weeks ago. The man didn't attack. He just stared at them with a haunting smile and whispered, "You guys forgot to lock the basement window." He had been using a secondary hidden staircase behind the kitchen pantry to watch them for weeks. Story 3. Sarah lived in a high-rise luxury apartment, a place she felt completely safe in. However, she began noticing a foul, musky odor coming from her bathroom. No matter how much she scrubbed, the smell of sweat and rotting food remained. One evening, while applying makeup, she noticed the large vanity mirror was slightly crooked. When she tried to straighten it, the entire mirror swung outward like a door. Behind it was not a solid wall, but a dark, hollow maintenance corridor that ran through the center of the entire building. Sarah grabbed a flashlight and peered inside. Just 3 feet away from her bathroom opening, she saw a pile of her own stolen towels and several empty granola bar wrappers, the exact brand she kept in her kitchen. The most terrifying discovery was the drywall. The squatter had carved tiny, pin-sized holes through the plaster. From the darkness of the tunnel, someone had been watching Sarah shower and sleep, separated only by a thin layer of paint. By the time the police searched the tunnels, the squatter was gone, but they found he had access to 6 other apartments in the complex. He was a ghost in the infrastructure, and he was never caught. Story 4. A young couple, David and Elena, moved into a secluded farmhouse in rural Washington with their 6-year-old son, Toby. A few weeks in, Toby started talking about his friend in the closet, who told him stories at night. David and Elena dismissed it as an imaginary friend until David heard Toby having a full conversation behind a closed door at midnight. David burst into the room, but Toby was alone, pointing at the back of the walk-in closet. David cleared out the clothes and noticed a small, nearly invisible seam in the wood. He pried it open with a screwdriver, revealing a secret, soundproofed room that wasn't on the house plans. Inside sat an elderly man on a small stool, holding one of Toby's action figures. He looked at David with total calm and said, "I built this house 40 years ago. I just wanted to see it one last time." It turned out the man was the original builder who had been released from a care facility. He had been living in the secret room since before the couple even bought the house, coming out at night to play with Toby and eat scraps from the kitchen while the parents slept. If these stories made you double-check your locks tonight, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more true horror every week. Your support helps me keep the lights on. Though after these stories, you might want to leave yours on too. Have you ever heard a strange noise in your walls or attic? Tell me your story in the comments below. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.